When they had all drunk wine, Menk resumed his place at the sage's side. Her Bak seated himself at their feet as one of a family and said, "When I was chickpea, my behind got the answer to indiscreet questions. Now I see why. Dare I ask questions now without being insolent, without being thought insolent?" "You may," said Menk, laughing, "since the Master of Wisdom has done you the honour of taking you as his disciple without your having gone through the student stage. Did you make such difference between student and disciple? How can such an honour be accorded to your servant?" "All this time I have answered for you to speed your training," the sage said. "Have I been unwise?" "Master, I will be deaf, blind and dumb sooner than betray you." "To be dumb will do. Open on the contrary your eyes and ears, for as an exceptional effort will be required of you, there is a great difference between students instructed in our sciences and techniques and disciples initiated into their causes. Are students of the temple members of the inner circle? Not until they have completed what includes certain secrets. Some expert technicians, some high officials are in with us, though without a disciple's training. This requires a change in them that opens intuition to the knowledge of causes. But a disciple is always part of our circle and obliged to make total submission. Who wouldn't for such a prize? Willingness is by no means enough. Predestination is necessary." "Who can discern the predestined?" "Those who are trained to it. You'll learn the way of it if you get that far." "I am discovering a new world," Her Bak muttered. "How does such a world keep in harmony with the world of other men?" Nefer Sekeru replied, "It is this world that makes harmony possible. If the masses follow instinct, the strong among them will bully the weak, in spite of all their resistance. Passion will hold the sceptre, whatever class governs, for envious greed must govern to possess, and ambition must possess to govern. Their sceptre is the whip." Hasn't there been rebellion in such a case? Anarchy changes masters. The oppressed becomes the oppressor. It is always so when privilege is given to goods and revenues or birth. Isn't this too often the case? As regards certain offices, but not all as regards our secret techniques, or for functions that demand knowledge of universal law. One can't wholly prevent injustice in the outer world, for human passions are unmanageable, but an inner circle, if it is alive, gives the country an impetus just as fire in the marrow quickens all organs. The channels are our brothers, trained in the traditions of a hierarchy that is qualitative. They uphold the principle that gives supremacy to true professional and moral worth. Are they high dignitaries of the kingdom? Dignitaries or not, it isn't their titles that matter. They are a leaven that vitalizes the dough according to the specific requirement of the time. Are they then sages? They follow the instructions of the sages of their time. Have they sometimes governed the country? In the great days, yes, and effectively. But in every age, they draw their strength from the brotherhood and this allowed them to affirm their wisdom without vanity, for wisdom isn't the work of a man but of a traditional training. In times of decadence, those who survived played a hidden part, averting destruction of the roots, safeguarding the treasures and legacies of truth so as to hand them on to their successors. Acker, who had listened attentively, made a point. It isn't any the less astonishing that the traditional foundations should have held in spite of disorders and invasions. Our letters, our symbols, the secrets of the canon and of measurement have never been lost or profaned since very ancient times. That is so, the sage agreed. The science of number and certain keys that derive from it enable us to foresee days of ill omen and take precautions. The immunity you refer to is evidence of this. Nefer Sekeru added, the invaders have never succeeded in imposing their doctrines on us, but have adapted themselves to ours is yet one more proof of the value of our knowledge. History confirms this, Menck said. As to interior disturbances, the simplicity of our customs helped us to avoid a definite collapse. Our mineral wealth would have made a considerable trade with our neighbours possible, but we reduced such exchanges to what was essential. We avoided what might have led to personal luxury and obliged us to substitute a rate of exchange between individuals for barter. For when luxury becomes a necessity, preponderance is given to wealth. Society is no longer governed by principle of quality, but by favouritism and greed. Luxury would have increased the craftsman's skill, said Acker. We use luxury in impersonal matters, Nefer Sekeru replied. In matters of religion, monuments, symbolic art, we use it in private life when some rare object gives the idea of quality, for instance, without falling into the error of complexity and the lust after quantity. Menck was right. When the governing class isn't chosen for quality, it is chosen for material wealth. This always means decadence, the lowest stage a society can reach. I don't clearly see the importance of the idea of quality, Her Bak said to his master. Two tendencies govern human choice and effort, the sage replied. The search after quantity and the search after quality. They classify mankind. Some follow the way of ma'at, others seek the satisfaction of animal instinct. Quantity relates to material goods and their possession. It belongs to the terrestrial goddess of fecundity. I can't say that word. Fecundity. Apet ta'ut. Apet, symbol of numbers and material treasures. Ta'ut, the belly ever full of seeds that grow and multiply. Quantity is given by ash or asher, numerous multiplicity. Notice that the opposite of ash is shah, sand, a characteristic of which is multiplicity of grains. Quantitative mentality, an expression of cerebral consciousness, consists in the analytical consideration of parts without vital connection. Quality in itself is creative power. Creation manifests a hierarchy of specific qualities or multiple aspects of the great netter and attributes of the netters. They belong to the world of causes, the values that form and rule matter, but they become perceptible, accessible, by way of comparison in the world of phenomena. We assign to various forms of perfection names determined by a material aspect, Menk, de keur, an. Menk, a putting together with tenon and mortis, designates the idea of excellence in the sense of unified diversity, perfect joining together, exactitude, conformity, precision. There's an image that I will send a picture of. As to Acker, the material picture is a polished surface, precisely defined, flawless, a woman shining with de keret, smooth complexion, creamed, the final dressing of a wall, polished, stuccoed, before texts are carved on it. This designates the idea of excellence in the sense of the completion of a phase, the accomplishment of a function, a state achieved or the end of a road reached. Acker gives the idea of a quality acquired, a result achieved. As to an, the I was chosen for this word, which gives the individualization of a quality, the manifestation, exteriorization of the quality proper to a being or thing. The symbol is happy, for by its colour and shape, an eye discloses a man's energy, qualities, as well as his organic and moral reactions. But two essentials precede all particular qualities. One is a relation of harmony between a thing and its properties, her. The other is a vital intensity that belongs to the thing, an intensity that gives it power of accomplishment and continuity, nefer. This word, in regard to the thing thus qualified, means what air means for the blood, nervous force for the body, seminal power for the individual. The nefer principle is the qualitative principle. It can't be calculated or measured. Our cerebral and sensorial faculties only allow us to access qualities through quantitative comparison. A substance more or less hard, a man more or less strong, more or less able. Such assessment is relative to an individual's means of perception. Qualities of a moral order are measured by deeds. A plant has several qualities that are perceptible sensorially. Its colour, taste and scent. But it also has a certain healing quality that is subtler than these. A power that is one of the characteristics of its vital quality or qualitative principle, nefer, perceptible to us through the intelligence of the heart. Is my master saying that the intelligence of the heart is never deceived? We are saying, Her Bak, that the intelligence of the heart is vision of the real or communication with it, and what in reality is, or again with the essential nature and quality of the thing. Integral vision or knowledge of this order exudes all possibility of personal interpretation, whether intellectual or emotional. Otherwise, it is no longer intelligence of the heart. It is personal interpretation that is fallible, being susceptible to subjective judgment. In the animal, above all the savage animal, such intelligence lies in what we call instinct, which runs no danger of being affected by mental activity. In man, when cerebral consciousness can read it without mistake, it becomes intuition. Then we must cultivate intuition if we are to perceive the vital qualities, the nefer of things and beings and their relation of harmony. Her? We cultivate it, the sage replied. When we encourage the craftsman to put quality first, in the smallest piece of work. When we awaken in our students a consciousness of the relations that link the things of this earth with heaven, in general, when we formulate the laws of analogy, and finally when by representation of the netters and by the symbolism of letters we describe the functions and qualities of nature. A man who will learn by this symbolism quickly becomes open-hearted. Nefer Sekeru finished by answering what was behind one of Her Bak's questions. As to the social problem that interests you, the qualitative section of individuals is a choice of perception and judgment. Are there faculties and gifts such as guarantee perfect accomplishment in a trade or profession? Have they the qualities of energy, constancy, loyalty that will foster and enhance them? That is true, said the sage, but it would never be feasible without the 3 circles. One can't stifle the masses by obliging them to practice what is yet beyond their capacity. They must have scope for their turpitude and opportunity to gain consciousness of it through suffering. Selective activity can only proceed by experiment and indirect test, which is really the aim of the system. In this way, we can guide those chosen in the use of their real aptitudes and give them effective means of developing their gifts. The perfection of your work proves the success of your methods, said Her Bak. But isn't the being chosen a blow to individual consciousness and an attack on the joy of life? All that makes for the joy of life among men of earth is accorded to each class within the limit of its real needs. It is an individual's training and aspiration that determines the choice that is made of him, which besides leads him step by step to pleasures of higher quality. No one is forced to prefer the austere and impersonal quest in which those of the inner circle and centre are engaged. Those who take this path are a minority, and the majority would never relish their pleasures. But the minority understands the majority's aspirations and tries to give them due satisfaction, as the cells of the pith dispense vitality to the cells of the bark. It is this that justifies and necessitates the 3 circles. Akka accepted this, but he looked for some other way of maintaining the progress gained through selection in this mode. Do you not believe in a law of heredity? Can't heredity give a basis of continuity for governing class? Heredity, answered the sage to himself, concerns blood and body. It has nothing to do with the reincarnation of an individualized soul. There is a line of incarnation in the same blood for the ancestral soul, but it follows certain laws of number. A son merely receives from his parents some physical, emotional, and mental traits, that is, tendencies and characteristics that make up the mortal body, the animating soul, and the lower ka. I now speak of hereditary germs that incarnate in liver and spleen. Such personal characteristics create envelopes of a specific rhythm. Transmitted from father to son, they constitute a channel by which the ancestral soul may find, after several generations, an environment apt to its rhythm. We may say then that there is heredity in principle, but it would be wrong to ascribe powers and qualities to immediate heredity without verification. Besides, considerations of time and coincidence come into play. We must take into account such atavistic legacies held, so to speak, in reverse, so that when the hour of rebirth comes, the soul may find its proper environment. Akka showed gratitude. You teach us what should be the key to several problems, Master of Wisdom. We won't attack them today. Now, you understand that the continuity of our traditions necessitates constant selection, but in spite of an impersonal centre that exercises hidden control, it would be impractical without the progressive testings of the 3 circles. But participation in secret knowledge is the object of a severe choice. For while our symbolic writing and theological art speaks to the profane in religious imagery, it speaks to the open-hearted as a revelation of principles. The sage rose. The 2 disciples followed his example. Her Bak marvelled over what he had heard. He thanked Menk for having summoned him, and Menk replied, "You will come back if you make what you've received bear fruit." Her Bak couldn't repress curiosity. "Does Monseigneur always live in this pavilion? What has become of the fine house where I was sandal-bearer?" "All remains in the state in which you knew it. You are here in my place of retreat during the days I shall pass with my brothers. If we are life-giving channels, mustn't we sometimes renew the life in us?" This increased Her Bak's joy. He had found his aim and his path.